Halliburton, they were, of course, the company that was run by Dick Cheney, who wound up becoming our vice president. And when he did, he got a little bit of a bonus when he left. You know how much the bonus was? $34 million. That's a little nice compensation package as you head out to become vice president of the United States of America. And then what's really a wild coincidence is that as he was vice president, the subsidiary for Halliburton at the time was KBR, Kellogg Brown and Root. And they wound up getting $31 billion in government work. What a wild coincidence, except for the fact that Time magazine found an email from the Army Corps of Engineers back in 2003 saying that billions of dollars of contracts were, let me give you the exact wording here, coordinated with Cheney's office. Coordinated with Cheney's office. By the way, these contracts were no-bid contracts. So no one else even had a chance. I love how Republicans believe in the free market. Now, it turns out there was something else in the contracts, because all of that wasn't good enough. They had an indemnity clause. So if they screw anything up, they don't have to pay for it. The bill gets stuck on the American taxpayer. And it turns out they screwed it up. Now, you've seen a million stories probably about how they way overcharged, and you know, I got dozens of things that were mishandled by KBR, illegal actions that they were fined for, etc. But this one takes the cake. Well, it turns out they were using two chemicals, sodium dichromate, and it was an orange-yellow substance containing hexavalent chromium, which turned out to be extremely toxic, which turned out to kill our troops. Now, there was about 830 service members that were affected by this. They were from Indiana, South Carolina, West Virginia, and Oregon. Now, we know all of this because the National Guard members from Oregon sued, and they won. They won $85 million. Now, what did they use these chemicals for? What was so important that they were willing to poison people for? Oh, it made sure that the pipes were not corroding so they could get the oil out easier. Well, you got to get the oil out of Iraq. I mean, why did we go in the first place, right? Now, to give you a sense of what would happen when you were exposed to these chemicals, NBC did a terrific report on it. Let me show you a small piece of it.
You could taste stuff in the air that it had a really strange metallic taste.
Roberta and others say the dust was throughout the plant and the grounds and permeated the air during sandstorms.
And it blew up in my face and on my chicken patty and my mouth and stuff like that. I didn't really think a whole lot of it other than it tasted really bad and made me throw up and burned.
Well, now that gentleman has lost 60% of his lung function and gets migraines because of the stuff that went into his eyes and his mouth. But it gets worse. Many have already died. Now remember, this exposure was not that long ago, but a lot of the people who were exposed are already dead. This is not a little thing, it's a big thing, but we're going to get to that in a second. But here comes the amazing part. So they lose, they owe $85 million. KBR says, I ain't got nothing to do with it. I have an indemnity agreement from the Pentagon. Go get it from the American taxpayer. And by the way, $15 million on top for my legal fees. Taxpayer pays for it. I have an explanation here. Huffington Post did some good investigative work here as well. They said the public doesn't know what the indemnity agreement actually says because the military considers it classified. Oh, that's terrific. Until recently, the veterans exposed to the toxin couldn't know either. Nor could attorneys at the Department of Justice who were left battling the contract in the dark, according to a source there. Can you imagine? We have to pay the bill, but our own Justice Department says, okay, that's fine. I'm not asking you for a state secret. I'm not asking you for how you torture detainees. I'm asking you what's in the indemnity agreement so that I can go to court and know what I'm arguing. Nope, that's a state secret. All a wild coincidence that KBR happened to get $31 billion worth of contracts. The contracts happen to have an indemnity agreement that said you can poison anyone you like, you can do anything you like, and don't worry, you won't pay a dime. We'll stick that with the American taxpayer. And on top of that, we'll make them secret so they can't even question how we did it. So that when you go to court, you say, ha, sad day, the veterans can't find out, their lawyers can't find out, even our Justice Department can't find out, and we'll win. Well, On that one, at least, they lost. And just a couple of weeks ago, finally, we found out what's in the indemnity agreement. A small victory. Now, the government is arguing, well, look, they overspent on their lawyers, so I don't think we should pay for the whole lawyer fee. In other words, we're going to have to pay the $85 million. And probably most of the $15 million, and that suit was only from Oregon. There's more suits coming up, not only from the other states that I mentioned, but also from troops that served with us that were not from this country. We're not done yet. Michael Doyle, the lawyer who helped bring the suit against KBR, says, quote, it's basically saying that no matter if we're guilty of willful misconduct, poisoning soldiers, taxpayers have to pay to cover us, as well as whatever we decide to pay on lawyers at whatever rates and all these fees. That's a pretty good bailout. So here we go again. Now, this is a toxic bailout, literally, for KBR, which used to be a subsidiary of Halliburton. And then you go to Rocky Bixby, and every time I read this, it breaks my heart. I've read it 3 times today. He says there were soldiers that actually brought it up, asked what it was, and they were told that it was a mild irritant at first. But it turns out, of course, KBR did know what it was and did not think that it was a mild irritant. They knew it was toxic. And then after Bixby's testimony, we heard from Colonel James Gentry from the Indiana National Guard, who said, they had this information and didn't share it. I'm dying now because of it. And afterwards, he did die. So he's dead, and we owe the money for it. This is sick, it is grotesque, and these come from the people who say that they believe in a free market, and they believe in capitalism, and they believe in the American way, and they honor and support our troops. What a sick, sick joke.